I would like to share a little bit of the essence of Dan Brule with Australia. So I have a few questions here, and would like to go through a few of them. And I think first, I'll do what Dan would do. Take a breath.
All right, let's do it. Questions awaken my inner teacher.
All right, we're in. Brilliant, good. So my first question is, if somebody is new to breathing and they don't really know too much about it, what would they out of come while you're here in Australia?
Yeah. Well, breathing is the only system in the body that is both completely automatic and completely under our control. That is not a coincidence. That's not an accident of nature. That's an invitation. That's an opportunity to take part in our own nature, in our own evolution. And so for anybody who is interested in living fully or tapping potential that they only heard about or thought might be possible, when you turn to the breath, you unlock lots of human potential. And on a very basic level, 70% of our metabolic waste is eliminated through breathing. And so, only 3% through defecation, 7% through urination, and 20% through perspiration. So if you think having good, healthy bowel movements and working up a good sweat now and then is good for you, you have to logically look at breathing, because it's the mother lode of our ability to release toxins from our system. So if that's not enough to seduce or cajole people into breathing, then maybe they don't have a belly button.
That is brilliant, because not only on the physical body, but imagine if you had a well-working physical body, what it would do to your mental body and your spiritual bodies as well.
Yeah.
Open up a lot. Yeah.
And we have an energy body.
Brilliant.
We have an electric body. And the breath is the key to waking up and coming home to that electric energy body. And, energy and awareness, that's the secret of being a human. And the breath is the key to both of those things, awareness and energy. So it's a shortcut to all the ancient masters and warriors and saints and gurus and mystics spent, decades in caves. We're fortunate in our time that in a few hours or a few days, you can unlock the potential that we used to think would take lifetimes.
Yeah,
so, that's why you should breathe.
Well done. Yeah, that's brilliant. Now, if somebody has been breathing for a while, been into let's say the pranayama and into the Kriya and Kundalini yoga, and they have an experience with that, what would be something that would be of value that they would get coming to your events here as well?
Well, we always stand on the shoulders of our teachers, and my students stand on my shoulders, and they look ahead and they start developing things that help me. And so after 40 years of teaching and coming around to students that I haven't seen in 5 years or 10 years or 20 years, and what they've done and where they've taken it, and then, catching up on our notes and cross-referencing, where did you go with it? We keep discovering new things. It's like when you read a book and a year later you pick up the book and you read it and you find 50 things in the book that you didn't see the first time, because something in you has grown, something in you has developed, and now something is visible to you or accessible to you that wasn't before. And so I have a lot of fun with people who are very seasoned breathwork and who've got, decades and, 30 years of breathwork. And we get together and we come at breathing from an angle that they just have never considered. And it awakens their original love and passion for the breath, because we each get in our own groove. And when suddenly, the Nile floods that delta every year, and it becomes such a ripe, fruitful interaction, between people who've been practicing different stuff, and now you come around and you see what's happened since the last time you looked. Lots has happened.
Yeah, that is great. And I could say I've definitely experienced that as well with you.
Yeah.
And also, oh, yep, good.
No, and also keeping up with the science. It's so much is now happening. When I started breathwork 40 years ago, I could count on two hands how many people, were doing it. And so now it's almost impossible to keep up. And so, we is smarter than me. And
Mm,
if you are a seasoned breath worker and you have a lot of experience, then I definitely want to cross pollinate,
yeah, yes,
helps
yes.
me. It helps me.
The collective coming together.
Yeah.
Yes. And that takes me to Tony Robbins because, as you coaching with him, you've been talking with him about breath work. When I think Tony Robbins, I think, well, what more does that man need? He seems to kind of know a lot. So in your work with Tony and with the breath work, what can you share that
Well, yeah, he's a
would be
very,
of value that he's getting and share of what he practically applies it?
yeah, he's the perfect example of a extremely high performer, outrageously successful, making a difference in the world that most people can only dream that they can make such a difference. And so on one side, we have to serve people like that. I feel like we have to serve people like that.
Mm,
And also someone who's
mm,
done a lot of work on themselves and who has practiced a lot of stuff. And he is very conscious of breathing. He's been practicing for a long time. He observes other people's breathing. He's reading their breathing. He can intuit from how they're breathing, if they're holding back things and so on. So he has been using the breath. And what's really beautiful about someone at his level is that just a tiny little tweak, a little slight adjustment, and boom, it's he translates that into extraordinary improvements. It's kind of like if you're in the top 10 tennis players, or top 10 golfers, or top 10 boxers, whatever. Everyone at that level, their skills are so close that on any given day, even if somebody has a very slight advantage, it's enough to take the day. And so
mm.
that's why I like working with people like that, because they're at that level where just a tiny little adjustment, they know how to parlay that into a huge benefit. And it's very quick and they integrate really quickly. So Tony, for example, there are a lot of personal stuff connected. He's seeing me for very personal reasons. I met him because I work with his son first, Jarek. And Jarek got Tony, said, Dad, this is somebody you got to meet. And we hit it off immediately. It's been almost 2 years since I've been coaching him. But for example, he lowered his blood pressure by 15 points within a week. And now that's because he's a very good
Wow.
student, and because he really, he gets it quickly and he practices. But that was for him extraordinary, because the alternatives and the other solutions were
Yes.
just not, he didn't want them. So that's a main thing.
Yeah.
And also in working with him very quickly, I could point out a couple of things that he just hadn't observed in his own breathing. And that got him very excited, because wow, if there's a couple of things that suddenly, my God, I've been looking at breathing all this time and I never noticed that little thing. What else am I missing? And
Yes.
and he's the kind of guy that appreciates the stuff that we don't know. That's, those are the things that we need to uncover. And I happen to be really good at that, because I've been doing this for so long, and I've started over so many times with different teachers from different directions, that it's almost impossible for someone, no matter how much work they've done, no matter how much they're practicing, it's pretty much impossible for me not to point out or bring up some stuff that they haven't considered or practiced or realized. And it's because I've had the luxury of not having to focus on anything else. for the last 40 years. Everybody else has a life. Everybody else has other responsibilities and things they have to attend to. And I was blessed that there was absolutely nothing else that I needed to focus on, or that I was interested in focusing on. And so that's a luxury that a lot of people don't have. And so I can save people a lot of time and a lot of energy, because I've devoted all of my time and all my energy to this one little piece. For most people, it's one piece of a collection of things, but it's the piece that really makes a difference. So I love working with high performers.
Yes, I absolutely couldn't more. Wonderful. Well, that also takes me to the next question that I have in regards to people who are entrepreneurial or high performers. What sort of what can you say about the energy that they would need, and the necessary, or how breathing is important to be able to be at peak performance, not only in athletes but in entrepreneurs and business people?
You know, whether you're on the battlefield, the boardroom, the playing field, your bedroom, the kitchen, it doesn't really matter. When we think that we're dealing with people and events and situations, we're really not. We are dealing with our internal reactions to those people, those events, those situations. We are dealing with our physiological responses, our emotional responses, our perceptions. That's where the work needs to be done. And so to be able to manage your physiological state under stress, to be able to alter your physiological state at will to meet ebbs and flows of energy and interactions, to be able to manage your emotional state, your psychological state, as well as your physiological state, to be able to get in tune with, to have greater situational awareness. These are all things that are vital in battle, vital at war and in battlefield, really vital in competition, in sports, in the ring and on the playing field, and in the boardroom, and in just interactions where something is at stake. Even if it's, you know, it doesn't have to be life and death, but something that's really important is at stake, and you want to have as much advantage as possible to maximize the potential in every moment. And so breathing gives us this way to maximize our potential and to deal with our inner world, which is really what we're always dealing with. When I say I like you, what I mean is I like how I feel when I look at you or when I'm with you. I'm really referring to an internal reaction, and that's where we need to focus if we want to really make changes in ourselves and in the world, and to be able to manage that inner realm. And because, you know, the situation that I think I'm dealing with, it's my reactions to the situation that are really the issue. And breath is the thing that comes in and gives us that little edge on the emotional level, the psychological level, the physiological level, in terms of connecting with my environment and being aware of subtle things in the situations that I can now respond to from a higher level. So useful in that field.
Felt my tongue move a little bit because I got really excited, because I'm like, yes, this is exactly what I've been experiencing, and why we want to bring you out here to share your knowledge. Now, with people who have a very busy life, how can the breathing be something that's short and sweet and helps them leverage? Like, how can that be a leveraged action that they do that can give them more than what anything else can give them?
Yeah, you know, I mean, time is the only thing that it seems like we just can't get back. You lose money, you can get money back. You lose friends, you can get new friends. You lose your health, you can regain your health. But damn it, time is something that it's precious. And what is the best use of my time? How can I get the biggest bang for my buck? And so there are ways of breathing that produce instant changes and benefits. And it doesn't take a lot of practice, and it doesn't take a committee to conclude that it's working. And so as soon as you have a taste of something and you get benefit from it, you can run with it, you can build on it. You can also share it with others, with your team. So I think it's really important that we be able to plant seeds in a very short, simple practice, and then to be able to develop and grow that seed almost infinitely. And then depending on how much passion you have, how much time you want to invest, it would be nice if training was not required. But the fact is, concepts get you nowhere, training gets you everywhere. And so if I only have 10 minutes a day to train, I want to make, like Tony does, right? If he's only got 15 minutes to put into his already 16-hour-a-day schedule, that 15 minutes better have the potential to return a heck of a lot more than the investment of 15 minutes. So that's where breath work comes in this population, I would say, where time is the most precious thing. And if I'm going to invest even 5 more minutes into something in my day, boy, that better be something, that better be the best 5 minutes that I spend. And that's where breath work kind of has that promise.
Yes, brilliant. Now, of all of your 40 years of learning and teaching and your experience, what is the most what's the most transformational or the most moving, memorable experience that you've had?
You know, I am so freaking blessed. When you ask me that question, oh my God, I feel like I've had so many of these moments that anyone, if you could have one of them, it would make your whole life worth living. And the fact that I've had more than my share of these, I think is why I have an obsession to share it. And so I don't know, I would pick we were just talking about Qigong. So one of the most beautiful moments and experiences in many ways came with my Qigong teacher, Hu Bin, my Qigong master. My first trip to Beijing, Communist China in 1985, and meeting with this legendary, amazing Qigong master that I was one of 2 Westerners who he ever taught personally. What an honor for a lifetime, you know? And so the thing that really was transformational for me was an exercise in his book. I had been given his book, Brief Introduction to Chinese Medical Breathing Exercises. My friend Leonard Ord bought the book in Hong Kong. He was visiting me. I saw the book in his suitcase, and it was one of those things where, yeah, what? And he never saw that book again.
Sorry, Leonard.
Yeah, sorry, Leonard. And there were so many beautiful Qigong exercises in that book, and I devoured the book, and it became one of those books that you underline things, and then you highlight things, and you write in the margins, and you circle things, and pretty soon the whole book is outlined and highlighted, and you know. And so there was one exercise that was absolutely my favorite exercise, and it was called prolonging the inhale. Prolonging the inhale. And I practiced for 2 years before I went to China, and I was up to a 4-minute inhale. I was so proud of myself that I can inhale for 4 minutes. And so when I was sitting with him after a few days, he kind of smiled when he saw this book with all the pages broken in the binder and the pages loose. And, you know, he was sort of touched that I had devoured the book so devoutly and sincerely, and broken every word he said. And so he said, he was going through and he said, okay, show me this exercise and let's talk about this one. And then he got to that exercise, which was my favorite one. And I'm thinking, wait till he sees how long I can prolong my inhale. I'm ready. And so I started, and he interrupted, and I had an interpreter. They went back and forth. Oh, wait a second. It was a little mix up in the translation. You see, the Chinese book was written, it was written in Chinese. It was translated into Greek. The Greek version was translated into German, and the German version was translated into English. And that's the one I had. And prolonged inhale was actually postpone the inhale. So for 2 years, I had been practicing prolonging my inhale when I was supposed to be postponing my inhale. However, the lessons that I learned by accidentally practicing something that was completely wrong and totally random turned out to be very, very powerful. And he was able to list all of the challenges that I had had in 2 years in extending my inhale, the feelings I had, the experiences I had, and the benefits that I got from it. And so it was kind of a confirmation that when you have a personal relationship to the breath, you are guided by a higher power. And you were led to practice something, even if what took it was a mistake. And so I learned that even the mistakes we make when we breathe, they're gifts, and there's something there. And that gives us all freedom to just start to practice what you like, and then make sure you practice the opposite. And so that exercise kind of gave me that lesson. Practice what you like,
you resist
get really good at it, and then what is the opposite of this, and get equally good at that. And in breath work, keeping that kind of balance creates a foundation upon which you can build stuff that is unimaginable.
Wow, brilliant.
So I love that lesson. How valuable mistakes can be.
A valuable lesson for me in letting go of perfection and getting it right.
Yeah, you can be doing something completely wrong and end up with this amazing benefit. You can't say that about too many healing modalities, but breath work is the one you can say it. And the other great lesson, the other really beautiful lesson you cannot say about just about any other healing modality, is that in breath work, the client can become the teacher. The patient can become the doctor. And we should actually be looking for that, not guarding ourselves with boundary issues against that happening, because it has happened too many times for me where I thought I was the teacher, I thought I was the coach, I thought I was the healer, and damn if somebody didn't bring something to a session that was for my awakening, for my healing, and for my growth. And so we, not only is that acceptable in breath work, it should be required.
I love that. I do. Thank you. And I also want to tie this into your actual events, because your first event that we're kicking off on is the 2-day event, Just Breathe, that we're going to be having down in Kings Cliff.
Beautiful.
And it's a bit of mine because it requires letting go of a lot and then finding a lot. And so I wanted to ask you, with going through the 2-day event, going through, Zen and the art of breathing, Chinese medical breathing, going through clearing birth traumas and spiritual breathing, and then going into day 2, we go into repatenting the mind and body and living vivation. Can you give me like a brief overview on what somebody would get, like the big, like a bang for your buck that you've seen people get out of a weekend like this?
Right. There are certain fundamentals in every breathing school, ancient schools, Taoist, Confucius, Buddhist, martial arts, the yoga tradition, pranayama, Zen, all of the ancient spiritual traditions who touch upon the breath are tapping certain fundamentals, bringing together certain fundamentals. And when you learn those fundamentals, you can recognize them in all those schools. You go, wow, look at that. Right. Here it is showing up here under a different package, explained with different theories. But when you look at the basic practices, there are just a small collection of very fundamental practices that when you learn them, you have the code and you can make sense out of all the other miscellaneous breathing schools and styles and traditions and methods. So to be armed with those basic fundamentals is so empowering. So this weekend is about coming at breath work from 6, 8 different traditions, schools, styles, models, methods, so that people within you is awakened these fundamental convergences or combinings or whatever you want to call them. And if you hear it in enough different ways and you practice it from enough different angles, something in you clicks. You get something that cannot be taught, but it can be learned. Very much like balance. You cannot teach another person balance, but anyone can learn balance. You just have to put them through a few things often enough so that it awakens their ability to find balance. So that's what this weekend is about. It's about coming at breath work from these different ancient styles and modern approaches, so that something in you clicks about what all these things have in common. You make them yours, and then maybe you come out of the weekend able to create your own style just for you. And if it only works for you, who cares if it doesn't work for anybody else? But if it works for you, there's a pretty damn good chance it's going to work for a whole lot of other people. And so it's the difference between getting something that you read in a book and having an experience that allows it to wake up inside of you. And so we just make sure at that weekend that we come at it from enough different angles that you get it. And when you got it, you got it, and you never lose it. And it's something you can share and build on. So I love that. I love the Just Breathe weekend for that reason.
Yeah, brilliant. And I am definitely looking forward to that one. So the following weekend after that, we have the O2 Summit. And this is on the 7th and 8th of October. And so this particular, we go through stress and, different things that you can do for stress and burnout, as well as, the art of not giving a damn. And then, day 2 is going into breathing for peak performance. And this could be for athletes, it could be for entrepreneurs, that sort of thing. Could you also give me an overview on your experience on the power of doing this sort of a technique for stress and overwhelm, and for being able to ramp up for peak performance?
Yeah. We could take relaxation as an example. Everybody knows the value of relaxation, and everyone can relax. But the question is, how deeply can you relax? How quickly can you relax? How totally can you relax? In the face of what situations can you relax, and what circumstances? And so we find that it's not just a matter of being relaxed or not relaxed. There are levels of relaxation that lead to profound abilities. And so going deeper into skills that we already have to bring up abilities that have been just waiting for a spark to kind of come up. And so it's the same thing with this ability to generate energy when you need it. There's a kind of a belief, a model in Navy SEAL training that says when you think you're at the end of your rope, you still have 40% juice in your battery. Now, you just have to learn how to tap that. And in those moments, it doesn't matter whether you are a peak athlete or a frail, elderly person, can barely get out of bed. When you reach a peak athlete is going to reach the same limit that elderly person is going to reach. It's just going to take them a lot longer to get to that point. But when they get to that point, they're at the same exact point that elderly person got to just getting out of a chair, And so there's something similar, no matter where you are on this spectrum of performance. When you reach your limit, you're at the same point that anybody, anywhere, who has ever reached any limit. And there are certain people who break through in those moments, and there are people who break down. And so the ability to find and muster up the energy that's needed to go that extra step is vital for really achieving excellence. And in everyday life, You know,
Mm.
a lot of people are living at their limit almost all the time. They're always, and so to have this skill and have this ability to tap that untapped, even maybe undiscovered energy or resources, God, I love being with people when they find it, when they find a way, you know. And so
Yeah.
for that population, God, that's, you know, it's what gets you through those moments that you didn't think you could. And afterwards you're looking back and you're going, holy crap, look what I did. I love
Yeah. Yeah. Like childbirth. And
it.
even Raven too. You get to that point where I think you've had enough. And then I personally have been able to use the breath and go, nah, I still got it in me.
Yeah, like when
Yeah,
you hit the
that's great.
zone, you know, when
Mm,
runners hit the wall and
mm,
and suddenly not only does it get easy, but it gets juicy. So
yes.
being there for that shift and knowing how to access that shift, tapping
Yeah,
into the flow state, God,
yeah,
that's so fulfilling.
yes.
Mm.
Yes, it is. And I also want to talk about the Breath Mastery Intensive as well.
Yes.
And this is something that is also quite dear to my heart because we have been training with you, doing the practitioner training, the online training, which is the 1 year program. And what we're bringing here is a 3-day certification program and a 7-day certification program. and and having a look at somebody who does the 3-day and somebody who does the 7-day, coming in as practitioners of something in the holistic wellness, could be chiropractors or osteo, Pilates yoga teachers, these sorts of things. What could they get out of the 3-day certification and the 7-day certification program that would set them apart from other people in their
Right.
field?
Well, the 3-day event you're talking about is what we're now calling a Breathwork Foundation course. And it's
Mhm.
because, I in the last, I mean, I've been to 9 countries so far this year, and it's only September. And so one of the things this foundation course is, okay, let's put together all of the most important things from the last 40 years. What knowledge, what skills, what theory, what practice, what information, what experiences can give people the biggest foundation upon which to build. And let it be something that everyone gets the same information. It's something that we can scale out. And so if you do the Breathwork Foundation course, you're assured that you got the same knowledge and skills, the same set of experiences and practices that everyone else who has done that course. So we all have this shared knowledge base, and it's on which we can build. So that's what that foundation course is. And depending on what you bring to it, obviously you'll be able to leave being able to apply it at whatever level you're already doing. It's the
Mm,
first step towards becoming a practitioner. The 7-day intensive is another required module or step, a practicum involved in getting an apprenticeship degree or a practitioner certification. So that 7-day intensive is packed with very practical, experiential working with the breath, with your own and with others, evaluating, being able to recognize dysfunctional breathing patterns, recognize strengths in people, look for flaws, and just be very comfortable at approaching breath as an art and as a science. And if you're already doing something, you have a practice, yoga, massage, body work, psychotherapy, fitness, whatever, coaching. Now you've got this sweet sauce, this secret sauce that you can blend in. And because you have your own set of unique skills, you will bring a very unique flavor to the breath work. And
mm,
so it's a way to integrate breath work into what you already do. For some people, it really turbocharges it. For other people, it's this little missing piece that brings everything together. And for still others, it's that spark that just sets people off on a path that they can't stop, and they're just going, you know.
That was me.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
Yeah, yes. And on that note, I think that it's so exciting because we got started with you virtually, and we've been, it's self-paced. So, our experiences have been ones that we've had to go and create for ourselves. And for people to come to 3-day and the 7-day intensive, we have everything there for you, where we've got the master and we've got the people, and we put a whole practical application into play where you get to leave in 7 days feeling incredibly empowered. And I love how you said that, because it basically shortcuts it down to creating that confidence in what you do in 3 or 7 days.
Yeah, and there's a certain amount that needs to be embodied to be, anyone can pass on information. You read something in a book and you parrot it to somebody else, but you can tell when it's coming from real experience and when it's just, you're just repeating something you heard. And so bringing that personal awakening or that personal, development gives what people do so much more juice and so much more benefit. And so I make sure people don't leave without having that big aha, and without really feeling that they've got it in their cells, and now it can flow from them. That's really important to me. So, and the 7 days gives us a chance.
Yes.
Pretty much guarantees it. You won't escape without some extraordinary shift, some huge something you can bring that has just been a potential, and now it's like, oh yeah.
Yes. I'm in.
Me too.
Brilliant.
I'm all in.
Good. Well, thank you very much, Dan, for sharing that. And I would like to, before you go, I'd like to see if you could share a breath, something that would be basic, quick, easy, something for people to take away that would be of value.
Good. Well, in the app that we're developing, which is almost ready to launch, we're very, very close. I recorded 120 breathing exercises, videos of
wow.
stuff. And so there's so many I could teach. The first one that comes to me is because it's fun, and someone sent me an email today and reminded me how much they loved it and where they got it. We call it sniff and poo. Sniff and poo,
yes.
It sounds like fun to begin with. It's actually based on a Sufi technique, and it's also something that we integrated martial arts, mixed martial artists. And so it's found its way into several populations. And it's very quick, and it's sniff and poo. You take 2 or 3 or even 4 to start with, maybe 2 very sharp inhales through your nose, as if you're shooting them into you. And then you release it through your mouth with a ooh shape. So it's so those sharp inhales give you a bolt of energy, and that releasing of the breath that's from the core, and it's a full release, vents a lot of stress and tension very quickly. So it's beautiful for both charging yourself and venting any tension or fatigue or stress. And we call it sniff and poo, and it's just fun to do. And you only have to do it for a minute before you go, whoa, this is cool.
Yes, and our children love it. I think because of the name, sniff and poo. But it's also really good because when they're in the high energy state, you can't, calm them down. They get to do the sniff and poo, and it's like, it's a pattern break, and it's a focus for them. And you can see it meets their energy and relaxes them as well.
Exactly. Exactly. Yep. Perfect. You got it. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank, thank you. And
Thank,
thank you very much, Dan. I really appreciate your time today and sharing about your experience coming up here in, well, I think less than 10 days you'll actually be here.
yay.
So we've sold probably about 50% of most of the tickets that are on these workshops. So if you're watching this and you want to grab some tickets, I'll make sure to put a link out there for you to grab your tickets still before they sell out. We want to keep it a small, intimate type of a group because what you have to bring to us here is so valuable. We want it doesn't get saturated with lots of people. So we're keeping it smaller and intimate to get a higher worth or a higher quality experience. So thank you, Dan.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to do what I love.
Brilliant.
And I'm so looking forward to getting my hands on everyone there.
Me too. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.